I'm making this video in relation to society's concepts of the value of a man's person, body, physical, and sexual sovereignty over society's conception to that of a woman's and the value of their body, sexual sovereignty, and person. In conversations of sexual harassment and rape, we oftentimes focus on the plight of women at the hands of men, but we never think too hard about what men are going through in this field, in this in terms of this subject. And I think that makes the discussion flawed and doesn't put the issue under the microscope that it needs to be put on under. We live in a society that largely looks at men as these aggressors and as women that are these things to be acted upon. So the reverse in a lot of instances isn't looked at as very feasible. And even if it did happen, the man liked it simply because he's a man and it's a nature to like any sort of in his nature to like any sort of sexual attention he gets from a woman. And that creates a situation where women have a certain amount of social leeway over men that isn't fair. If women have that amount of social leeway, it can kind of lead to one-sided relationships where women are doing a lot of things to men, but men can't necessarily do anything back or face repercussions that go as far as, you know, prison time. And then, not to mention all of the abuses and humiliations that go on in prison. So, if we uh, analyze the issue of someone's sexual sovereignty or control over their body as a human right that everyone had equally, as in no one's person could be violated physically or sexually or in any other context, whether that's in terms of violating someone's privacy, in terms of while they're naked or showing people's nudes, you know, that could take several contexts, but we have to realize that it's not just a joke when a man feels violated, as opposed to a serious issue only when it happens to a woman. People have the right to value their bodies in a sexual context and really think about who they want to show their bodies to, and people have equal rights regardless of their sex and equal obligation to respect other people's rights regardless of sex. But I notice situations where sometimes women think it's sort of okay to show men's private pics and tell private things about men and do things to men that they know they wouldn't want done to them. And you have to ask yourself, how can you have mutual respect in a relationship if you don't take into account one of the most sacred things about one's person, their sexuality and sexual capacity in their person in a sexual context, and you make it a joke on the basis of their gender? It leads to a lot of social imbalances and resentment on the opposite sex's part, and that's just not good for relationships or society. And if we're going to go into the things that men face in reverse for doing those same things, or even allegedly doing those same things, they face jail time, which is an even usually face jail time in a lot more cases than women do. And when you go into a prison system, then you really don't have any rights over your body. They allow you to file grievances with the institution you're in, but generally the staff will retaliate against you for even daring to do that. So you could even face harsher abuses for it. And oftentimes these are for crimes that amount to absolutely nothing. Nothing. But I guess I'm digressing with that one. We just have to talk about how women have this heightened standard that they expect to be treated by. But since they are taught from the time of puberty that men are sort of these sexual animals, and that in the context of sex, they're the only ones that who have any real value. And it's about and how the relationship in a lot of ways is supposed to revolve around them and having respect for them, respect that they may exchange for sex, and in return for sex, they kind of get the world, as opposed to looking at sex as a mutually beneficial thing that comes with the development of the relationship and the increased comfort and attraction you have to the person with time that both partners like equally. It becomes a thing where you're trading. The woman looks at her vagina as the ultimate tool or the ultimate thing, as opposed to one half of a process called sex that strengthens the relationships and strengthens your connection to a person you love. And as far as gift giving, to be honest, that should be a mutual thing. But our society doesn't look at it that way. Your manhood can be measured on, in a lot of ways, by a woman, can be measured on the things that you buy for a woman. And oftentimes people don't take the value that a man might have for his own sexuality and person and his body and what he deems to be respectful and disrespectful into account. They make it center around the woman completely. And as I said before, this leads to a situation where there can't really be mutual respect in a relationship, because respect is always based off how the woman feels in terms of whether she's in her comfort zone and not how both partners feel. And that's not cool. So that's something that needs to be looked at and changed, most definitely.